Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. We will call this June 2nd, 2025 meeting to order. This is a work session with an executive session to follow. First order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, then we will adopt the agenda as presented. First order of business is our PACE renewal. Welcome.
Thank you. Everyone's favorite topic is in. We've been working on this application. Every year they send us a renewal update to make sure we've got all the buildings and autos and equipment. So the team works on that. We've got it this morning back from them. So I haven't had a ton of time just to sit down and renew it, but it's very similar to the years before. I've compared premiums from last year to this year. They also have a cheat sheet on that for me. And there's some additional coverages and some changes that have taken place this year that I've highlighted a few I want to talk about before we get into the nuts and bolts. The overall, I guess Ryan and I were wondering last week, are we going to hit we budgeted for 18%, and we were happy to see 18.5% increase. So we're happy with that. Yeah, very happy with that.
I was worried about
there. Right. And I'll get into the piece that made us nervous about that here in a bit. On their renewal packet, which Ryan has a full copy of for later, and I'm going to send him and Crystal a PDF of it also, they do have a handful of pages that just talk about different changes. And I thought it would be good just to quickly highlight some of the changes that they've made. Some of it's just wording in the policy, some of it's actual coverages. So on property values, it says last year we implemented property trends in a tiered approach, etc. This year they've implemented a 3.5% trend across the board for structures and personal property. And I went back to look, our values trending at 3.5%. We should be in a good place with them because they appraised in 2023. So it's only been a year and a half to 2 years that they had their appraisal people out here, CBIZ, that gave the appraisal. One thing we like about PACE is they tell us the values. So they're on the hook for values, and that's a good thing. As far as contributions, they use the word contributions instead of premium. So same thing, the contribution. This little note, liability reinsurers, and the reinsurers is who PACE buys insurance from to cover the catastrophic claims, continue to be wary of the public entity market due to national and local trends of very large verdicts and settlements. And so they're just, when part of their increase and some of their retention that they're asked by the reinsurers to have more skin in the game, PACE themselves, it's because of the local trends and national trends of large verdicts and settlements, and I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. Another one I wanted to, they've cleaned up the definition of ACV payments, and that comes into play on property at a loss. And so they included language to grant the trust the authority to issue ACV payments at the beginning of a loss. They've always done that, but their policy actually didn't say they could do that. But they've always done it on behalf of their members. So they changed this year. If there's a loss on this building, a fire, they didn't have to pay anything until it was all completed for, as replacement cost. But their new language says, hey, we will pay up front ACV. ACV is what it costs to replace it minus depreciation. So they will give us money up front to begin the process of rebuild. A very big addition this year and this is why Brian and I were nervous about the premium going over our 18%, is in the past, part of the liability was sexual misconduct. Any claims that would come for that, that was just part of the liability contribution or premium. They've seen a lot of claims come from sexual abuse and molestation. And so they've actually taken out that coverage from just general liability and carved it out on its own. And so when we go through the cost of insurance with this sheet, you'll see a line item for that, we call it the SAM coverage, for that alone. And we were nervous that that was going to cost a lot more and take us above our projected percentage, but it didn't. So we're good there. We'll get into the limits on that here. So those are highlights I just wanted to mention. If we look at the sheet that I handed out, just starting from top to bottom, July 1's our renewal, as it is every year. Property coverage is the first item. We have $87,000 plus in blanket building, business, personal property, and mobile equipment. That's our total value that we, 87 million, excuse me. That wasn't sitting right with me. Yeah. 87 million. Yeah. That premium this year is 200,000. I've got a little sheet back here that tells me what it was last year. It's interesting to see which lines of business actually had the increases. So that increased 12%. The premium change was 16%. So an additional 30,000 from last year on property. We do have a deductible of 5,000. They always include earth movement. That's their word instead of earthquake, and flood. Each with a $10 million coverage limit, and you don't see a premium for that in the documents because that's just included in property coverage. And then our team here has gone through the autos and made sure that we're up to date with all the autos. We have auto coverage physical damage per the schedule of autos. And that's why our team here and the team back at Phil Waldo, it's important we communicate, make sure everything's on there. If it's not on the schedule, it's not covered. So that premium is costing us $24,430. Then we have the liability, of course, $500,000 per occurrence, and then the excess limited liability of $14,500,000. So we have, and in the past, I know questions always, are there other carriers out there? And yeah, there's other carriers out there as our premiums seem to increase 13 to 18% every year. And we tested the market a year ago, and you can't find excess liability for $14.5 million out there. The PACE program, just the coverages, the limits far exceed. We found comparable premiums, but far less limits out there. So I just like to remind you that PACE is a good program. We do pay a lot of premium for insurance, but when you compare it to other carriers out there, the coverages are by far better. We have non-owned and hired auto on our liability. That means that any vehicle that we rent or borrow, or vehicles that the staff would drive on their own vehicle on behalf of the school district. Like if Ryan was in his own vehicle, it's not on the insurance policy for the school, but if he ran to town, did something, was in an accident, was found liable for that accident, that's the coverage we're talking about here for the non-owned.
Is that secondary though?
It would be secondary, yes. Good point. His insurance pays first, and if it's a big claim, ours comes in and pays the rest.
And only if it was work-related travel, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, an attorney's gonna do a little research and find out that he was doing something on behalf of the school, and only then would that come into play.
Getting Gina Dutch Brothers.
Yeah, right.
Work-related.
From last time from
Yeah.
law school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how many claims Dutch Brothers has been. And we do have uninsured and underinsured motorist bodily injury on this, only with the $500,000 limit. That coverage actually came into play a year and a half ago with the school bus in Fruitland. Yeah.
So is that low though? And if you've got a school bus full of kids that gets injured,
It is low.
500,000 is gonna eat.
It is.
Real fast.
It is, and that's all that PACE offers
Okay.
is 500,000. And I asked Ellen in our office today that's worked the PACE program as long as it's been around, and that's always what they've given us, and the excess doesn't sit over the top of it.
Okay, because that's a max limit for any residential
Yeah,
driver.
yeah,
That kind of seems really low when we're talking about transporting kids en masse, and yet I have that on my pickup.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, I think when we had that bus thing in Fruitland, like, it ate it up before we even started doing paid claims. Like,
Yeah.
it was, like, it really was, it was pretty quick, but, so, yeah.
If it's the max we can get, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, and so we maxed them out, and then Pace was awesome right away, talking to their parents, and because of this kicked in, and so, it was actually really, really cool the way Pace worked with our parents, like,
Yeah.
really, that day, you know, so.
So, I mean, on that same front, the physical damage at the top, were we low on that too? I mean, is that our $75,000 in liability, or is that to our own autos?
So that's on hired auto physical damage. So that's if you rent a van to drive across the desert to an event or something, and you don't purchase their physical damage coverage, you've got 75,000.
Okay, but because it says scheduled autos, including hired auto, so is that our own schedule of autos?
Yeah, I see what you're asking from the wording. So I should do this. Physical damage is the topic per schedule of autos, period.
Okay.
And then also including hired auto physical damage limit. I guess that should be basically 2 sentences. So you have physical auto coverage on everything that we list on the policy. And then an additional coverage is the hired when you
The
rent
additional
or lease.
75.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we just don't rent things that are so expensive.
Right. Or purchase their insurance.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I go fly to Portland for a work event and rent a car, I pay physical damage. And the reason is, number one, you can ding it up, get to the airport, say sorry, and you're on your flight home. Number two is they are gonna drag their feet. There's a thing called loss of use. They're gonna drag their feet on getting that thing repaired. It's not high priority. We saw a Penske truck that one of our farms rented down in South Idaho. Penske took forever to get it back on the road, and they kept charging our farm loss of use. So, just a little tidbit when you're traveling and renting cars. Yeah. Okay, the next one is liability, 10 million per occurrence, 20 million annual aggregate for the school. Coverage includes bodily injury, of course, and property damage, wrongful acts. This is where the coverage for the school board comes in, and the decisions you make or don't make, or forget to make, or as you look out for the interest of the school, that's coverage for you as well. And employment-related practices coverage. So we're covering a lot with this $10 million per occurrence. Excess coverage of $10 million is included in the contribution, and that's a large premium to pay, $59,000. Last year, that 59 would have included the line item below. This year, they've broken that out, and they actually have the sexual misconduct liability coverage. We looked at, they have varying limits that you could choose, and we all found this interesting. This is the first year they've offered this as a standalone. We qualified, number one, congratulations. Not every school is qualifying and they have to do extra steps, but we checked all the boxes, we're doing all the right things. You can get 1 million, 2 million, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10. So I think we checked 2 million,
We start, yeah, I think it was 2,510, and we started at 2, saying,
and they said that costs, let's see, I'm gonna do just some very quick math. That costs $22,000. But $10 million of coverage costs $23,365. So Ryan was like, well, duh. So, and it's worth it. Yeah, if they can offer, if we can get the max coverage, that's peace of mind. Equipment breakdown, that's part of, has to do with your heating and ventilating and system. Coverages include the policy limit of 87 million. We do have crime coverage for employees theft, transfer fraud, forgery, alteration, for 2,468, a deductible of 5,000. And we checked all the boxes this year for cyber liability, so we got the highest limit that they would offer. I remember a couple years ago, we fought with that because they just get more and more requirements. But we're doing good. Yeah, we check all their boxes that they're looking for. We have $1 million per coverage period. But the next sentence, 5 million total for all PACE participants. And I think I mention that every year, that it's $1 million seems like a lot, but if a large school has a large cyber attack and it costs $4.5 million, that leaves the rest of the schools in Oregon with 500,000. So it's a shared $5 million with everybody in the PACE program. I do put this in there. Probably one of the largest threats is cyber extortion. That has the high deductible of $25,000. And on the back page, our violent acts crisis expense. This is the highest that we can get. It doesn't seem like much. It's 50,000 limit of coverage and only 200,000 again for all PACE participants. And then you'll see the total premium last year to this year, 18.59%. I did also got the PACE or the SAFE workers' comp this year, just on Friday, and it did go up from 48,000 to 62 based on our experience. So I'm gonna, now that I've got that data, I would like to run a report and we'll just go over. And I think SAFE is pretty good at reaching out and going over that stuff with you. But I think to just, let's look to see why we went from 1.01 to 1.04. Because what they do is they take all these factors, your payroll, blah, 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 and then they times it by this mod factor. So if you take 50,000 times 1.04 versus 50,000 times 0.94, that makes a big difference. It's either credit or debit. So that's where we're at with workers' comp.
and they take 3 years in that, or is it year by year?
It's a 3-year running total, or it's a three-year period that counts towards your mod. Yeah, I've got a great little illustration. I don't know if you and I have looked at that before, but the way I build a spreadsheet, it shows the 5 years that all happen. You could do that.
That'd be good. And I think, because like, so this year will go down, obviously last year we went to claims, all right? So this year will go down, but it's 3 years, so you'll start, we see a trend the other way. So.
Yep.
So we had less claims this year than
Yeah.
before.
Yep, so that is gonna be in a lag year, not counting for anything. And what you hope is the year that's gonna fall off is worse than the year coming on. Yeah, you don't want it the other way around. So, any questions?
Is the $1,000 auto deductible, is that standard?
That's more
Seems
and more,
pretty high.
it's more and more standard. It's probably been like that for at least a couple of years on this program. They don't give us an option for lowering it from 1,000. I think we can always raise it to save a few dollars on premium. But even on our regular, I use farms all the time because we work with so many farms. Mutual Venum Claw is the last one that's offering a $250 or $500 deductible. They're all above 500 now. They're at least 500 to 1,000. Yeah.
Seems high.
Yeah. Yep.
Do we ever use the equipment breakdown coverage?
I don't think we've used it,
When that elementary HVAC went out, we didn't use it.
because those are single units, so it wasn't like a huge thing. We were looking at it once, the gym one went out, and then people got the roof and everything, but, so, you know, as far when I've worked here, like, we haven't used it for these large breakdowns. Even when, I think the broiler, when that went down, I don't think we used it, and that was
Yeah,
6 or 7 years
because
ago.
it can't be because of age
Yeah.
or warranty issues. It has to be like an external power source, outage happened and our system went down.
So power surges are covered?
Power surges,
Okay.
yep.
I was just trying to think, so if it's out of warranty, the insurance is gonna say that's age related. If it's in warranty,
Yeah.
correct.
In warranty, the earth movement, the power surge, back
Yeah,
covered.
there you go.
There you go, there you go.
So if that happens,
But-
start shaking the
but
building,
only-
have everybody jump.
But only 10 million in coverage because it would all be related to the earth movement, not the
Yeah.
power surge.
Oh,
The earth movement
dang
caused
it.
the power surge. Good.
Yeah, I always leave that up to the adjuster.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dallas? So, and we will be, so we'll vote on this on Monday to go in, and so, if you guys have any other questions, but it's pretty standard, and I appreciate Dallas and his team and work through. Actually, we tried to get it in May, we wanted to get it in early,
Oh, tried.
and, but no, we just really appreciate all the work that they do, and, I mean, exactly, what is this, what is, and so, I appreciate,
Thank you, Ryan.
Wall Insurance and Dallas in particular, just how responsive they are when we call right away, so, I think he rolls his eyes. But no, I gotta tell you, thank you, and the thoroughness of this, I appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Well, and if you represent Pace, where's our little chapsticks?
I don't have any, I don't even have anything.
Umbrellas,
Yeah.
blankets.
Yeah. We
I
really
was waiting
like
for
our-
something else.
The little egg chapsticks, that's what
I
we
was like-
like, of course, yeah.
Oh, you got one of those. I didn't have one.
Every time we walk by it.
We're like, we pay a lot of insurance, so.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, my apologies. Maybe next time I'll surprise you with something.
Yeah.
Or make a note.
And the Pace should send them to you.
Yeah, they should. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir,
you.
appreciate it, thank you. Grab some food if you want on your way out, too.
Well, thank you. I think I'll grab a chip, but I was
Yeah.
told not to spoil my appetite because we got a Blackstone now
Oh, nice.
this weekend, and I'm supposed to cook on it tonight.
Oh, nice.
I've been telling everybody that today.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's awesome. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there are no questions for Dallas. We'll move on to the item 2 on our business, the strategic plan update.
Okay, so we have kind of two parts of this. Is one is here is based on your feedback last time. This is kind of an updated, like, I mean, right now we're just kind of taking those small little edges off. There were two areas that I'm going to highlight from feedback from the board. One of them is employee investment and engagement, and the first one had, instead of it saying like SEL, right, giving SEL training, we actually moved that, so that's the third one down on the second column, provide high quality professional development based on staff needs. And so that you'll see that change there, and the other change comes from fiscal and innovation, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4th down. I've been working on these words based on your guys' feedback. Approach a decision-making in a way that values diverse perspectives and ensures all voices are considered.
I like that.
Yes.
So, what do you think, is that? Okay. Whew. Okay. You have no idea how long I struggle with that one, because, but, so, those were kind of based on your feedback last time when we had that board studies training a week and a half ago or so. And so I really do think we have something really good that I'm getting it out. I'd like to get that out to marketing and see what we can do about getting this in more of a digestive, community-friendly, kid-friendly, kind of less kind of jargon kind of thing. So we have that going out there. So Any questions on that before I move on to the strategic plan, the next portion of it that's really good? Yes?
Should there be 2 periods after
Nope,
staff
I saw that when
meetings?
I was reading it out
Okay.
loud. So,
Can you
yes.
quickly say your first change again, what box it was?
There was a second, in the second column there, the third one down, it has 2 periods there, and I apologize.
Okay, that's the other change, okay, thank you.
So,
Discussing no periods.
I had 1 period there and I need to put it there, so, but yes. So here's the next one, you want to pass that out? So, based on that, and also from the board training, we have actually taken the strategic plan and your feedback from the survey, from all of those things and what we did, and this is, and I told you, right, that I would just be writing some ideas down for the board that I want you guys to review and say, hey, this really is applicable, because in July, we'll be working on how your goals are rolled into the strategic plan. And so if you see it, there are 4 main areas, so you have the goal there, just like on this plan, right? Support and monitor growth by ensuring policies and resources, allocations, prioritizing, improve student achievement, graduation rates, and attendance. So that's this first one, this first here, so you'll see that's the goal. And then the action steps is where I want you guys to kind of pay attention to that, is like, does this encapsulate what we talked about? One of the, like first one, review data on academic performance quarterly. During the board training session, you guys said, well, how do we look at more data? What do we want to do? So that's going to be a goal, and I put in there a time of quarterly. So it's our job, you say, okay, we want to look at this. So quarterly, we're going to have a presentation, a study session, to look at things like math, ELA, behavior data, just those things. So we are going to bring data to you. And this is, so it was one of your goals, now it's stated, and so our job is to keep me honest and make sure we do it. So anyway, so as you see, that's where I got that information from. Advocate for and improve initiatives that provide targeted academic support and intervention. That's part of both my superintendent goals, this goal, and what you guys were talking about as well. Celebrate academic success and growth in public meetings. Okay. Also from that meeting, ensure the board agenda includes regular updates on student support and safety efforts. Try to remember everything in there when we did it. Again, this is something, I won't go through all this. I just wanted to walk through the first one so you guys saw where I have that. These are just, Gina and I have been working on, these are just taking your ideas and your feedback from the study session into this format. And so what I'd like you guys to do is review this and see, like, hey, here's something that you forgot to put in. Here's something that we'd like to see. So, any questions on that?
Big step. Yeah.
That was actually really cool. Like, I love that our conversations and our plans, right, we're seeing in fruition, we're putting on paper, we have like follow through on all of those things, and keeps, the board say we want to be held accountable just like everybody else. Helps us, right? Gives us the direction. I see where they're going with it. So I really, that's the best way to say it. Like, it's a really big step forward for the board. So good work, everybody.
Questions, comments?
Perfect.
Okay. We'll move on to item 3, the OSBA training. And Ryan, you have an update for us on what we're doing next.
I do, and I put it in one of my weekly messages, giving feedback to Kristen at OSB or small schools, OSBA, small schools, whatever it is. Anyway, just how to improve that and some things we would like to see. And I talked to Chairperson Mrs. Mornaka about how do we make it a little more applicable, because I felt I missed the mark a little bit about what we wanted as a group. And so July, what day did I put on it? Was it July 10th? And it's up to you, and I put out there, it is no more than an hour, and it is to go over basic roles and responsibilities with some scenarios. And one of the scenarios I put out there for her, and she has a bunch, is like, community member comes up and said, Mrs. Ramirez, can you believe that a teacher did this to my student? What is your response? Right? So what it does is, as a board, we have that discussion, right? Is it, I cannot believe, I'm gonna go get that person fired, right? I mean, or is it, well, I appreciate you letting me know. Have you reached out to the building? You know, I would be more than happy to talk to the superintendent, to talk to the principal, and so it's really about what the board's response to the public and things like that. Because what we don't want to do is like, can't do anything, don't listen to me, right? We want to hear, but we also want to help direct them in the right place. And while not putting ourselves in, it's like, Dustin said they're going to get that teacher fired and they're still there. Can you believe that? Right? And it doesn't put you in a position of that either. And so it not only shows support for the community, but also support for your employees at the same time. Anyway, so scenarios like that for us to just come up as a board, like how do we want to respond? Right? And so a little more interactive, I guess I would probably say. What do you guys think?
What time?
Did I put a time on that?
I don't think there was a time.
Yeah, I don't know if I put a time on that yet. I just kind of picked the day, if you guys.
And I also spoke to Kristen about touching base again with on executive sessions, you know, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, when we can use it, and that sort of thing. And in my conversation with her, I explained that this would be an onboarding time for Nick, our new board member, but it would also be a reboarding time for us to remind us of things we may have forgotten or overlooked. So if you have any other suggestions of things you want to touch base with, you know, let us know. But we do need to keep it to about an hour, because that's all the money we have. Otherwise, we have to pay ourselves, because, you know, this is still part of the rural caucus scholarship. Yes. I can pull it up.
That's fine. I'll figure it out later. I apologize for doing the two authentication thing on my phone.
Okay, and that July 10th is a Thursday, correct?
Yeah. I tried to stay away from some things, you know, like July 4th was there. We wanted to get as close as we can to the beginning of July because our scholarship technically runs out the end of June. And so she's kind of willing to help us out with that. And so I wanted to get at the beginning of July, and obviously, you know, 4th of July weekend, so it's the next weekend. Monday and Tuesday are pretty busy. Wednesdays, we try to stay away from to respect, you know, kind of our family time. And so July 10th was the next day.
Okay. Any questions, suggestions, whatever on that?
For future trainings, I would like to see our school board have like a poverty simulation type of training, so we can better understand what our families are facing in our district, and not just not know, so then we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. But it would be really nice, not only for us as a board, but I think even, you know, staff, just a day in the life of our students, or our families, or our community. And I saw the Mount ESD is doing that in a couple months, I want to say in the fall,
Yep.
like a poverty simulation, so it would be nice to bring that here.
That's an excellent idea.
But
Well, I've been to
I don't know how you do it. I'm honestly asking, like, how do you do that?
one.
Well,
So I
so-
sat on one before, have you been in on one?
Yes.
I have
Okay.
two, yeah.
They give you like scenarios, card, like,
I love
you know, like you're addicted to drugs, or, you know, and then like you know, or you need to eat, how do you get food, where are you gonna go? And so they have the simulation set up where you kind of go around different people begging for things, or, and so yeah, but I think a good thing was like, if you just give me your checkbook, we'll start there, and then, no, I'm kidding. But they really do, and everybody has a different scenario they're working through, and what happens is that sometimes they're competing scenarios, right? And how do you advocate for your kids? Like, you don't have any money, you don't have, like, you know,
and
so
your
it's-
rent's due, and you have a shut-off notice on your electricity, and now you need to go to this agency, and then that agency has a directive like, well, you can only see 3 people a day, or only if they have these specific needs can you help them right away. And so then you're sending some people away, well, they still have the need. So it's just bringing that awareness to the board and to the staff.
It gets very frustrating in there. It's
Yeah.
like,
And then like, how does a teacher expect a child to learn when there's all this stuff going on at home? Like, so it kind of helps bring you back to, okay, I need to have this bigger mentality when working with kids or families or even in the community.
I think I remember one, it was like, I decided to shut off the garbage, but then, it was, right, because that was something that wasn't necessary, so just let it pile up, because I had to choose between garbage and food, right? And then it's like, oh, look at them, there's garbage all over the house, they must not care. It's like, it was the opposite, right? Anyway, so it just really, really good stuff like that, I'll help you work through, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That
I
would be
didn't know,
really good.
I didn't know people did simulations like
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, I will reach out to them and see if they can do like a one for us. I think it would be really, really good. So,
Yeah, I think it would
yeah,
be.
I like that. But we need more people though, right? And so, anyway, yes, I will look at that. Thank you. Good feedback. Good feedback.
Any other suggestions? I love that idea. That'd be really helpful
So
for us.
earlier this year, we were supposed to have like a county-wide thing with OSBA to do training, right? And that got canceled, rescheduled and canceled.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever got rescheduled. But wasn't part of that a mandatory training?
For the public meetings law.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was one that I think that the PowerPoint or the video that you guys watched, that was in lieu of because we
Okay.
had canceled
All right,
that.
so we don't, that's not something we need to worry about. That has to be rescheduled at some point.
No, and as long as you took that in one time in your, yeah.
So
as long as
they
you-
just not want to
So
go
probably you
this
did.
way?
Well, so the OSBA,
Yeah.
we did an OSBA thing last year, but I don't think they had a training. I think it was more just informational, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
More advocacy, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And then so this year it was, anyway, so it's a complicated answer, Mrs. Williams. What I would say is it is going to be back on our usual time, I think in October, isn't that when we usually do it? When
It's
they
in
come
the fall.
Yeah, in the fall sometime, but that's still on. It was just kind of with everything and then the long session and it just didn't work out. for us.
So hopefully we will have that
Yes.
then.
Yes.
Okay, and that was sort of coordinated through E ESD.
Yeah. Yeah. They coordinate all that and we talked about it back in, even in April, saying, everybody still want to do this? Like, absolutely, yes, we do. We want all the boards in one place and so, yeah.
And that was the one time when all the boards are in one spot.
Yes.
And we can, hopefully, Susan, you and I had talked about trying to reach out to,
Something that would be
you know,
good.
to all the boards so we can share some of we all have similar problems.
Yep.
So that we can share some of our solutions or, hopefully. So,
I would also like to, I'm sorry, I forgot
No,
with that
yes.
topic, to recommend is instead of the state OSBA training, we look at national school board training, and that'll be in Nashville this year, or yeah, I think it's Nashville.
So instead of the one in November.
Instead of the one in November, actually the cost is pretty much the same when you're looking at travel on that. Hotels and everything, it actually is gonna, it would cost the same. I was looking at kind of the things they're offering, and I think it would be more in line with kind of some general training for boards, and also, so I do think that we may get some more value out of it. I talked to Mr. Redmond at the ESD, they go to the national ESD one. I was hoping we could kind of all go together, but he said that, so it is more generalized rather than kind of more politicized a little bit sometimes when we do a local context. So I would like the board to think about that. I'll send you information. Again, it's pretty one-to-one on money-wise, and I think we'll get more value out of it. So,
okay, so you will get that information to us.
yep.
We're not all taking a van to Nashville.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it, like, especially.
I'm out.
Especially after
Yeah.
the high rate.
I mean, bucks, right?
Right.
Not a little bit more to get you to Nashville, right? When you kind of do that, when you're on a plane, it's not that much difference. And so I looked at kind of the hotels, and there's actually more options for us that would actually be cheaper, because I think it's like $300 or $400 a night per room. And so, anyway, just a thought I'd like you, the board, to think about. It is kind of cooking. So I will send it to you.
I drive from here to Mexico.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah. And it's around the same time.
We can borrow the, what is it, Yukon from here and just crack and go.
Yeah.
I drive.
And when it breaks down halfway through, we can rent a vehicle with the high insurance on it.
I'll take advantage of that.
Yeah.
God, it's it. Anyway, so, but I've been doing some research into it and kind of asking around, and I do think it would be an awesome opportunity for our board.
Okay, and you sort of give us a ballpark figure as to the cost comparison.
So what about the conference in August?
Is that one in Bend? Is that
It's
one?
in
Say
Salem.
Salem.
Oh, in Salem. That one, you guys, I mean, it's totally up to you. We have about 10,000, is it about 10,000 in the budget? Because I know we went over budget last year, and so if that's something the board still wants to do, and that was obviously way cheaper than the other one, so, but if that's something you guys want to do, then we'll make it.
I think the board should consider going to San Diego the week instead
What's in
of
San
Salem.
Diego?
Wrestling matches.
Oh, yeah, oh, it is, huh, yeah, that's, yeah, and then we can't go, because I think it's our first new teachers back that week, or
And
something like that, so, yeah, for us, it's new teachers are back that week, so it would be the board going again.
Go support the wrestling program.
In San Diego, which is
I'll
pretty
go.
awesome. Yeah, that's, you said me, I'll go, so, anyway, so.
I drive. I just want to get out of here.
You're just get in the car and get me out of here. Anyway, okay, I apologize, that's all I have. That's okay.
Okay, so but you'll get us that kind of information to take a look at, so we can make some plans, or at least think of
Yep.
things we're looking at. Okay, anything else for Ryan, Gina, or, okay. In that case then, we will move into executive session. Let's see, I have this whole little thing to read. We will now move into executive session under the authority of ORS 192.600, Section 2, Section D, to conduct deliberation with persons designated to carry on labor negotiations and/or to review and evaluate the performance of the superintendent or any other public officer, employee, or staff member, unless that person requests an open hearing.
Reset that open hearing.
Are you willing to have an executive?
Yes, please.